So we've talked a lot about playing using arpeggios and chord tones through a song and using neighbor tones in and around those chord tones. And I've talked about rhythmic values and trying to change things up that way. One thing I'd like to touch on now is picking a certain pattern and playing it through a song. Way back at the beginning of the curriculum, I talked about the Coltrane pattern of 1, 2, 3, 5. And when we get to giant steps, we'll talk about it more. But that's an example of a little fingering pattern that you can play through a progression that will alter from chord to chord because of what the chord is. If it's a minor chord, you know, if it's a major chord, it's, if it's a minor chord, if it's a minor 7 flat 5, it'll be, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to take this and move it through the different tonal centers of a song. And then try different fingerings. For example, if you're playing through All the Things You Are, you could start on your pinky one time. Start on your second finger. Start on your first finger. All over the neck, try to find different ways of doing each thing. So I'll do a play along with this and show you some of the ideas, but some of the patterns you could do, you feel free to make up your own. That's the whole idea. Sometimes I do, there's an actual exercise that I do where you take a certain pattern of an interval, for example, and do it in all different directions. I'll give you an example. If I'm in the key of A flat, like I am in for All the Things You Are, I could do thirds. And then a lot of times then people will go, but actually that's a different direction, right? So when I get to the end of the up third, I still go up even though I'm descending, right? Then I'll do all descending. That's a different kind of a pattern. And do it in each of the 6 positions. It's really a good exercise. Let's mix it up in the next position. I'll go up one and down the other. Right? And then maybe down and then up. Let's do it in a different position. That's with the pinky position on the 5th string. So you get the idea. Take these things, discover a pattern. I can recommend a book here called Nicholas Slanimsky's Thesaurus of Melodic Scales and Patterns, I think is what it's called. If you look up the Slanimsky book, you'll find it, believe me. It's a pretty amazing book. It shows every pattern and every convolution that you can think of. It'll probably take you 3 lifetimes to get through the whole thing. But I do that. I do this little exercise of patterns just with intervals, for example, on every interval. For example, I'll spend some days, I'll just say, okay, it's time for me to practice my interval patterns, and I'll take, you know, fourths and do it, you know, up and down, down and then up. All down is difficult. That's hard on guitar. But these are good tongue twister, finger twisters, I call them, you know, to go through on the guitar. And then the scale fragments, you know, like the 1, 2, 3, 5 that I already said, you could reverse that, etc. Start on 5 and go down, right? Just right down the scale, but in the opposite direction. Or you can go, right? 5, 4, 2, 3, 1, right? So that would be. You see what I'm doing there? So that's a good pattern now. 1, 4, 2, 3, 5. But of course you can make up your own. I would love to hear yours because I'm always looking for new patterns to try. So send in your videos and I'll have a response for you. And I appreciate all the work and research you can do on my behalf. I use a lot of standards to practice on, but some of them really find a place for me in my heart. And this one, If I Were a Bell, is a special one. I'm going to play on that. I'm going to take some of the concepts that we've talked about here of playing melodic fragments and patterns through a set of chord changes and play it on If I Were a Bell. It also has a modulation in the middle, and I'll talk about that before we start it too. So have fun with the pattern idea, the melodic fragment idea. Try to find as many different fingerings as you can across the neck of the guitar. Use your know your neck technology of playing it from each place it occurs on the neck. And let's see how you do with it.